Hey y'all. All right. Uh, I think I'm so used to people having bad behavior that if and when they don't behave like a monster, I'm kind of thrown. I don't know about you all, but in today's day and age where everybody's all about me, 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 social media makes it worse, right? People have to be on TikTok. They have to be all over social media. They need everybody to see them and notice them and think they're amazing. And it's kind of sickening how people are just so falling in love with themselves. And then you have people who are naturally like that. They naturally are in love with themselves. That's just they're messed up like that. But I find any toxic behavior to me is really mind blowing. But again, I know that they have brain damage and I know that their childhood messed them up, you know, messed their asses up. And so they can't be normal. It's not a choice. Experts do believe that it's as a result of what they went through growing up. So they're just totally not right in the head. So they cannot behave in a normal fashion. It has nothing to do with I was with the mafia. It doesn't have shit to do with that. It has to do with your childhood, whatever you experienced in your childhood fucked your head up, and now your prefrontal cortex is not right. The amygdala is not formed correctly. The anterior insula cortex, which is these are all part of the brain, it's not formed correctly. None of those are formed correctly, so their behavior cannot and will not be normal. It doesn't have a goddamn thing to do with the mafia trained me to be an asshole. It ain't got shit to do with that, which is what the previous cocksucker said to me. um ain't got nothing to do with none of that. It ain't got nothing to do with none of that. Okay. But I realized, first of all, I will always be completely shocked by somebody who is so detached from someone else's pain, someone else's situation, somebody's surgery, your partner was in a car accident, or your partner had a miscarriage, or whatever the case may be. I know somebody who eventually they did everything backwards. She got knocked up, then they bought a house, then they got married. So they did everything backwards as hell. All right. He's an asshole too. She ended up getting pregnant at one point again, and she lost the child. She was in the process of having a miscarriage, and he wanted to go home. He didn't want to sit up in a hospital and wait for this whole thing to carry out and make sure there's no complications. He ain't really trying to do all that because there's things he'd rather do at home. Let's just keep it real. He didn't want to be bothered with any of that. And she said, well, go ahead and leave. I'll get my father to bring me home. And so he don't want her dad to be looking at him like, wow, you supposed to be her husband. And, most toxic people don't care how bad it looks. They're going to go home. If you have to get a ride with your mom or your dad or somebody else, they don't really care how bad that looks because that's how twisted in the head they are. But he didn't want to come off like a super prick. So he's like, no, it's fine, I'll wait. Because her having a miscarriage is inconvenient for him. Okay? Inconvenient. A lot of people are like, you know, how could somebody take the life of their children? How could somebody lose a child and have no regard? How could someone never see their child again? How could someone do that? That's your flesh and blood. Easy. That's easy. When a person doesn't have a conscience and they don't love their children because they're toxic, why would they be connected to them? Yeah, they're my flesh and blood, whatever that means. But they're not connected to those children. I know plenty of toxic people that are supposedly parents, and they beat their children. They control their children. I know of one lady who's married to a guy who's crap. He's a toxic bastard, and he likes to what does he do? Oh, makes his children to punish them. He makes them sit with their arms out like this indefinitely. Okay, either out or up. I can't remember. I think it's out. Either way, your arms are going to start trembling and your muscles are going to start feeling heavy, and it's not going to be a good situation. And the more you suffer and the more the kids cry, you meaning the kids, the more the kids cry, the more he feels good about himself, because he has the power to control his children. He enjoys the power. Okay. So not everybody is mushy gushy. Oh, that's my kid and I love them. Not everybody feels that way. Okay. Toxic people do not feel that way about their children. They feel like you are tugging on my wallet. I've said that time and time and time again. You are tugging on my wallet. You are a big pain in the ass. You are nothing but a ball and chain around my neck. And every time I turn around, you need something else. Okay. So they don't see it as, oh, that's my flesh and blood. That's my daughter. That's my son. I'm so proud of it. No, not everybody feels that way. All right. Not everybody feels that way. Let's get a grip on reality. That's not, for a twisted person, that's not how they think. Okay. Anyway, growing up, I noticed that, first of all, I can't really expect parents, so-called my parents, to be abusive, verbally, physically, insulting, vicious, beating me with a leather belt that's that wide, solid leather, not the pleather crap that you see in Walmart nowadays, the real McCoy, okay? Super thick, super wide, solid leather. Getting beat by that, from that belt, getting beat from the belt, he would beat me with that belt, and the belt was, he's got the strength of a man, and he's beating a child with a belt like that, with a man's strength. So that's nothing you can ever forget, And this was a common occurrence. And I wasn't a bad kid. So I can't logically expect on the times that I was afraid, the times that I remember as a kid, this was before well, as far as I can remember. You can't really hold me to that because I was a kid, right? So I can't really remember every specific detail, but I think this was before the violence was way out of control. I remember walking on the sand on the rare occasion we got to go to the beach, and walking on the snails, because there's a gazillion snails everywhere, okay? Walking on the snails caused me anxiety. I don't know why. Don't ask. I was a kid. It just felt weird. I didn't like it. And I was reluctant to walk, but I mean, you have to walk, and I was completely ignored. I expressed that I was nervous about it. I didn't like walking on them, and I was ignored. Okay. So even though that's a minor thing, when you're a child, it's a big deal because you don't want to feel that under your feet. It feels uncomfortable. You feel like you're killing them when you're walking on them. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's a big deal. And to be ignored is just like par for the course. I don't know if that's a family of color thing or just toxic parent thing. I don't really know. But I know that my fears were never taken seriously. What else was I afraid of? That sticks out in my mind. The snails. I don't know why, but it does. Um, I also I also had a fear of insects making contact with my skin. I hate that. A butterfly doesn't bother me. A lizard doesn't really bother me. But any other type of insect, that's ew. I just if I had gloves on, I'd be okay. But if I didn't, and for this particular scenario, I had to clean the collard greens in the sink from the garden, and because it's coming from the garden, um, I'm sorry, guys, bear with me. Uh, because it was coming from the garden, there's going to be all types of critters in there, spiders and shit. My throat is tight. Um, and I was freaking out because I had to wash those by hand. She wasn't going to wash them, the mother. She wasn't going to wash them for what? She got a slave in the house. Why would she have to do that? She got a slave. So let the slave do it. So I was scared and it would take me forever. I'm talking collard greens like the whole sink was filled from the bottom of the sink to the top of the sink with freaking collard greens. And don't get me wrong, they were good. When they were finally cleaned and cooked, they were off the chain. But um, I don't know why I'm so emotional about it because it kind of builds into what I've had to deal with as an adult. Um, anyways, it scared me to do that, you know. And I wasn't allowed to wear gloves or even put a sandwich bag over my hands or nothing. So every time, bear with me. Every time I saw critters, bear with me. Let me grab this towel. Every time um, I saw critters in there, which there's tons because this came from the garden, right? I would freak. I'd freak out. And they're just crawling out of the sink, and it's just like a phobia type of deal, you know? And because I was dealing with poisonous parents, toxic ass, twisted ass, demented, sadistic parents, there would be no, I'm sorry, guys. There would be no protection from that. There would be no, hey, you're okay, put these gloves on, you'll be fine. No, 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 that's not how it works. You got to snap out of it. You got to get over it. You just got to get out. You got to get over it. So eventually, I never talk about this. Can you tell? Because it builds and builds and builds. It doesn't disappear. You just carry it through every aspect of your life and you don't realize it. And then when someone is abusing you, you freaking snap because you've been through this shit your whole life and you've got PTSD as a result of every horrible, heinous thing that was ever done to you. You have PTSD. So when somebody retarded comes along, excuse me for saying that word, but somebody comes along who's like a fucking dunce in the head and toxic, you just get raw with them because you're like, oh hell no, motherfucker, you ain't doing that to me. You know what I've been through growing up? Fuck no. And you lose it. I'm trying to figure out where I put my oh, I know where there. Anyway, so yeah, obviously got PTSD because of the vicious beatings, being shoved in the corner, had to stand in the corner for hours and hours and hours on end. And then with the collard greens thing, let's go back to the collard greens. It's taking me a very long time to clean them, obviously, because I have a phobia. I don't want those things touching my skin. And there was nope, like I said, no protection, no, you're gonna be fine. she gave me a time limit to get them done by, or else she was going to beat me. And that doesn't reduce your phobia. Hello. Does not reduce your phobia, okay? It doesn't. And so I have to risk getting torn up again, because that's her favorite thing to do. Sadistic. And I did the best that I could. But she put up a good front. I remember one time I was having I was in vacation, having vacation in uh, Cape Cod, and I was a kid, and you're probably not going to be able to see it, but on my hand through, I'm trying to see where it is, right here, very, very faintly. I don't know if you could see it. There's a scar, and that is from, let me turn this on. That scar is from when I was on vacation in Massachusetts, and I was a kid, and I opened the can of paint, not the can of paint. What is wrong with me? I opened the can of meat, lunch meat, I opened it normally, and then I made the mistake of pressing down with the palm of my hand to close it before I threw it in the trash. Well, that was a huge mistake because the lid is sharp and it sliced through my hand. Now I want you to listen closely to how this went down, because the image, that public image is everything, okay? Everything to a psychotic person. So the first hospital, well, first of all, she's a nurse. Yes, an abusive, sadistic nurse. I don't know what she put her patients through, but oh my freaking God. Thank God she's not a nurse anymore. I'm sure she's retired. Oh my God. Anyway, so I asked for a Band-Aid because it wouldn't stop bleeding, and so she gave me a Band-Aid. And then I asked for another Band-Aid. And at that point, she figured, let me see your hand. And I said, no, it's all right. It's all right. Let me see your hand now. So I have to show her my hand, and I show her that my hand is bleeding through the Band-Aids. So she's like, get in the car. And I know what's next. We have to go to the hospital, and I have to have stitches, and I had a phobia for going to the hospital. First hospital we went to was on strike. Just my luck. They were on strike. So I had to go to a different hospital. And of course they put needles in the wound to numb it. And when the doctor started to, whoever it was that started stitching me up, I started feeling I felt the pain. And she wants to portray that she's a good protective mother. And she said, you need to give her more pain medication. She feels that. So she's like the mother of Rosemary, like Rosemary's got Rosemary's baby. Rosemary, that's her. Vicious bitch, right? But she has to portray that she's a good protective mother, okay? They're always worried about that image. Always worried about that image. I have to perpetrate that I'm a fake. They're good at that. They're real good at that. That's why I like to spread the truth and tell people, no, baby, it's not what you think it is. And doctor gave me more medication, finished stitching me and all this. Anyway, anything I've ever been through, I was always on my own growing up. It is the scariest thing to be a child and to not have anyone protect you when you're sad, when you're scared. Not one person. Even when I was a teenager and I went on my grandfather's boat, he had a 18 foot boat. And to get to the boat, where the marina, we go to the marina, and I'm young, so I got this fear, and I feel weird about stepping on these styrofoam blocks that they're designed for you to walk on, but it freaked me out because every time you step on them, they kind of wobble, and you feel like you're gonna fall in the water, and I was scared about it. My grandparents weren't abusive, but they ignored my fear. I'm freaking out. Everybody's pretending that they don't see it, they don't hear it. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody gives a fuck. And they weren't abusive. They just blew my fear completely off. So I've been alone ever since I was a child, which is frightening as hell. I never talk about this. Can you tell? I never talk about this. It's been in my mind lately, but I never discuss it. So it's at the point, as, I became an adult, a young adult, and this and that, and it got to the point where I realized that from a young age, I realized I had to be my own protector. You don't realize that you feel that way. You just automatically protect yourself, and you rely on absolutely no one, because the people that were supposed to care did not. Okay, they didn't. So you subconsciously, you are on your own. And then what highlights that and underscores it multiple times is when you go into these so-called relationships with these fucked up people, because their childhood was fucked up, so they're fucked up, so that they're going to be fucked up with you, and they don't protect you either, but you're so used to protecting yourself that you almost expect them to not care. Without, like I said, subconsciously, you know that you're on your own no matter what. You don't realize that, on a subconscious level, on a conscious level, you don't realize that subconsciously, you know that nobody cares. You know that no matter what your fear is, nobody cares. And then, obviously, I became a young adult, and I ended up in all of these dysfunctional ass, toxic ass relationships, because your parents set you up for failure in relationships. If they're fucked up, they set you up for fucked up relationships. Because when someone's nuts, you kind of expect that, because you were taught from a young age, this is how adults behave. Okay? So you end up with all these, and you forgive too much, and you overlook too much, because nothing scares you, because your parents are off. And they're violent, and they scream, and they yell, and they slam doors, and they're cussing, and they're beating and punching and twisting my arm behind my back and knocking me downstairs. So when somebody reveals that they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, you're not really shocked by that. And you need to be. And once you get into healing, and once you get into, you finally reach the point after my second marriage, I realized, and then, from the second marriage on, I realized that I have a repetitive pattern of being with emotionally unavailable people. I have a pattern of being with toxic ass people. I have a pattern of being with people who don't give a shit. And then you've got people all around you that don't give a shit, because being on TikTok is more important. Being on YouTube and making videos is more important. Being on Snapchat is more important. Social media is, it's all about me, baby. So that doesn't reduce narcissism, okay? Me. Okay? But when you take years to learn about toxicity, learn what's abnormal in relationships, you learn that when you grew up, none of that was normal, okay? You learn that your partner is supposed to give a shit. You have to be single for a while. No relationships. I've been single for 5 years. Probably this year it's going on 6. I've been single. Okay? Manipulationships are not relationships, like I've said before. I've been single since I got a divorce. I've gone out with people, and I noticed on the first date that they are toxic, selfish, narcissistic, egotistical assholes. And why in the God's green earth would I sign up for that shit? I grew up with that. I had that in both marriages. Well, the second one more than the first one. The first one wasn't toxic as much as he was emotionally bankrupt. He don't have nothing to give you, because he don't have nothing to give himself. He's just a freaking Sears mannequin. All right? No emotions at all. So when you're single and you have year after year after year after year after year to educate yourself on toxicity, educate yourself on what narcissistic abuse looks like, educate yourself on what sadistic behavior is, educate yourself on, I've watched videos, you know, Kyle and Jenny's video. By the way, if you want to watch any of their videos on YouTube, whenever Jenny was alive, it was under her name, Jenny Apple. And then, you know, her whole cancer journey, all of that. I mean, they've lost a child before, all of that is on there. But since she's passed, it's under the Apples, because their last name is Appleton. And that's Kyle and Jenny. And so you're watching his grief recovery now. If you should, you know, so you ever hear me talk about Kyle, I'm talking about Kyle Apple. The channel's called The Apples. When I watched how they relate to each other, and I watched how, it was like being in a classroom, because it's like, this is what healthy looks like. She talks, he listens. He talks, she listens. They don't roll their eyes. They don't ignore their partner. They did not. She's no longer with us, like I've told you before. But their connection was how it is supposed to be. I love you. I protect you. I'm there for you. We're not going through, you're not going through cancer by your damn self. Hell to the no. I'm going to take medical leave off work. I'm going to go to every single doctor's appointment. I'm going to hold you when you cry. I'm going to hold your hand. And when you come to the end of the line with this nasty, unrelenting disease, I'm going to hold you until you stop breathing, because that's how much I love you. I love you with my mind, body, heart, and soul. That is what it's supposed to look like. That is what real love looks like. That is what real love looks like. And when I watched their videos, I was in a classroom, because I was seeing and I was learning. This is what love is. When she was afraid, because she knew she was terminal, who wouldn't be afraid? He was there. He held her when she cried. They cried in each other's arms. That is what real love is. There's no such thing. And there is no room for, oh, you got diagnosed with cancer? Oh, I wonder what's on TV today. That shit ain't fucking normal. That ain't normal. I learned through watching them what love is supposed to look like. What real care is supposed to look like. This is how you love your partner. This is how you're there for your partner. You don't screw other people. You don't get naked for other people because you have a small pea brain, and being with your partner for 5 minutes is 5 minutes too long. I need to bone somebody else because my ego is fragile, and I've already won you. You love me because you don't realize I'm a monster, but I can't be loyal to you because I need my goddamn ego fed because I'm a fucking narcissist, right? So they need their ego fed. They gotta stick their dick in other people. They gotta open their legs for other people because that is what feeds their ego. They never cheated on each other because that's not what you do when you love somebody. It ain't about your horny ass and your broken ass ego. This is about true love. They didn't start off butt ass naked. They were friends for year after year after year after year until they finally came together as a couple. And they finally realized he was dating other people, she was dating other people before they had a commitment with each other. And then she realized, you know what? He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'd be a damn fool not to be with him. No other man acts like him. No other man loves like he does. She said, hey, would you be my boyfriend? And he started playing Celebration from Kool and the Gang on the computer because he was tickled. He'd been waiting for those magical words. Okay? They were faithful to each other. They were loyal to each other. When she lost a child, he didn't go, oh, he had a miscarriage? Oh. What am I going to have for dinner? That shit ain't fucking normal. I don't care if everybody does it. It ain't normal. You want to know what real love is? They were in love. Loyal, faithful, loving, kind, sweet, considerate. You listen to what your partner says. You care about what your partner goes through. She's had to go through multiple painful procedures because of the damn cancer. She had 2 types of cancer. She had cancer in her lungs and cancer in the brain. And no, she didn't smoke. She had non-smoking lung cancer. And she had cancer in the brain, which kills you quick. And he was there through every single thing she went through. He never lost interest in her because that's not goddamn normal. Regardless if you grew up with that carelessness, me, that ain't normal. Being warm, kind, loving, being a Niagara Falls of love, that is normal. That is what's normal. You don't have sexual feelings for other people because your heart is with your partner. That is what normal looks like. So I felt like, for the first time in my life, I get to see what real love looks like. I finally get to see it with my own eyes. It was a class to me. And I just brought all that in, like, I soaked it up like a sponge. And that's what I want. Maybe. If that's ever possible, or I'm reaching for a fantasy that doesn't exist, I don't know, because people are such assholes nowadays, and men worship women's bodies a little too much. They're obsessed with that. I don't care about who you are, but I do care about what's between your goddamn legs. Well, I'm not your whore. Treat me with respect. With my goddamn clothes on, or you could hit the fucking road. Kyle didn't screw her. He made love to her after they were engaged, after they got their own apartment, after years. Nowadays, there's so many toxic men, if you don't give it up on the first, second, or third date, you can just go on somewhere. Well, get your ass out of here then, bitch. I don't want your used up dick any fucking way. Theirs wasn't based on sex, hormones, being a slut. It wasn't based on that. It was based on true love and emotions and a connection up here, like I said before. You can screw everybody and anybody. You still ain't connected to them, Tootsie. And when something happens to you, all those people that you laid, not a goddamn one of them is going to give a shit if something happens to you. That's why you have to have a connection up here, so that you can have a solid connection based on a cement foundation. That's what you put your house on. You don't screw people right out the gate and have it based on hormones, because then you built a house on quicksand. There's no depth. There's no depth when it's based on physical. There's no depth. There's no real true love there. It's based on hormones. That's the reason our freaking divorce rate is so high, because people are doing the wrong thing. They're not connecting up here. They're connecting this way. You could do that with any damn body. Do you want something solid, or do you want something built on quicksand? It's totally up to you. Just asinine how people behave and how they don't understand how real love works. Now I know, because I've actually seen it with my own eyes, how your partner is supposed to treat you, how you are supposed to treat your partner. So this is deep because, like I said, I've never talked about it before. I couldn't get it out of my mind. You know, I kept flashing back in my mind the times that I was scared, and I had to just get over it. Totally ignored. Completely ignored. Me walking on the styrofoam blocks thing, ignored. You're fearful? So what? Who cares? They kept talking. Like I never even said I was scared. Nobody gave a shit. That's not normal. That's not normal. Kids are supposed to be protected. Well, that goes without saying. So it feels good to get it out, because, and oh my God, the abuse, that you don't have time for all of that. You just don't have time for all that. You just don't. The beatings were all the time. All the time. I mean, all the time. Vicious, vicious, vicious beatings. When I look back at my childhood, I don't know, honestly, I don't know how I survived it, but I did, and it made me stronger. And my grandmother knows what I've been through because she witnessed it with her own eyes. She witnessed me being called a bitch when I was a baby in a crib. No normal woman, obviously she's far from normal, women don't call their baby a bitch. But her way of dealing with it when I was, getting older and becoming a young adult and becoming an adult, her way of dealing with it was, oh, you weren't ever abused. Yes, you ain't had that much of your life wasn't that bad. So you know what that means? That means she's dysfunctional in her own way too, right? Because that ain't fucking normal. They wanted to adopt me. Why would you want to adopt me if I wasn't abused? I'd love to have an answer to that, but she's dead, so I won't have an answer to that. I think that people pretend it didn't happen because if they acknowledge it, then they feel like they have to do something about it. She witnessed it. She saw it. She knows. But if I pretend it didn't happen, I keep telling you that it didn't happen, maybe I could gaslight you into believing that it didn't happen, that it was all a figment of your imagination. I got scars on my body that tell me different, so that sounds good in a Hallmark card, but that ain't reality, baby. So it feels good to get it out. Like I said, the abuse was unrelenting, so you can't really logically expect an abusive person to be there for you when you're scared, because your fear means nothing to them. It means nothing to them. So, thank you to Kyle. Thank you to Jenny, because you both showed me what real love is supposed to be. Real love without screwing, without getting naked, and all this other bullshit. None of that. Tongue kissing and all that other shit. None of that, because they were friends only for years. That's a solid foundation for a relationship. That's a solid foundation. Okay? It wasn't based on hormones, and I have so much respect for them for doing that. I used to think, I'm gonna let you guys go, but I used to think that if people are promiscuous, I don't really give a shit. That's your life. You want to fuck it up, go ahead. Until it came knocking on my door, and dudes were acting like, well, what's wrong with you that you don't give it up? I don't owe you shit, motherfucker. I don't owe you shit. Yeah, you had a conversation with me, so I'm supposed to throw my legs wide open because you had a conversation with me. So that's supposed to mean something. That don't mean shit. I don't owe you nothing. Get out of my face. You got to learn to have, nobody ever respected you, but you have to build your own respect, and you have to not allow yourself to deal with wolves, because God knows there's so many wolves out there. So many. I'm gonna tell y'all something else. All those people that are coming in, and y'all know what I'm talking about, some of them are going to pretend that they're in love with the women because I want to marry you, I love you forever, because they're trying to get becoming legal that way. So they're head over heels in love with you. I've already experienced a few of them looking at me like, hey, and I'm like, no, ain't happening. I'm not hateful, I just ignore them. So if you think they're not going to pretend they're in love to become legal, you done lost your mind up in here. Yes, they will. Watch yourself, ladies, watch yourself. And men too. Although men are a lot easier, because all women have to do is do him, and he'll do anything in the world for her if he's one of those guys. Some guys are like that. Not all, and not many. But some guys, if they've been intimate with the woman, they feel like, I can't abandon you. We had a special connection. But that's like 1 or 2% of society. Because most guys feel like being physical is just being physical. It ain't no big deal. It's just something you do. And they're not connected to you because of that. You gotta be kidding me. But yeah, these people are going to try to pretend that they're head over heels in love because they trying to, to get in that way. Become legal that way. Let's get married. I love you. Me love you. Me love you long time. Yeah, no, Nope. I'm not one of them, and you ain't going to manipulate me, and you're going to trick me, and you're not going to lie. You're not going to pretend that you love me. We're not doing none of that shit. I've been through that my whole life. I'm done. I love me. And I'm reliable. And I protect myself when I'm scared. How's that? Anyway, feels good to get it out. Feels good. Like I said, it seems like those are just small things, but they're big on the grand scheme of things. It set me up for dealing with people exactly like that. Oh, you terrified about having surgery? Oh well, sucks to be you, don't it? They don't say it, but they abandon you. That's the world we live in now. They don't even send you a text. Are you okay? Are you in the recovery room? How did surgery go? They don't give a flying fuck. That's not how it's supposed to go down. Again, Kyle and Jenny, thank you for teaching me how real love is supposed to look. Because that's rare in today's day and age where everybody's all self-absorbed and it's all about them, them, them. Me, me, me. Thank you for teaching me what real love looks like. I may never experience it, but at least I know I got to experience it through them and through watching their love story. You guys take care. Much love.